The fact that I had to make this as soon as I got home as a warning is a bit bad for Fanfest. Too long didn't watch. There was quite a few big problems that affected quite a bit of people's enjoyments of the con. Basic things that aren't being met, low supplies, and a lack of any communication, leading to people taking advantage of the great amount of untrained staff members. Okay, now to get into a bit of a detail. I have been to cons a bit. You see, I put Anime Expo vlogs. I've been going to Anime Expo since 2016. 6 years of convention experience to at least let you know what the hell is going on. So I ain't talking out of my ass, if that's what you may think, first off. To go off first, while I hadn't gone to Fanfest before, quite a bit of us would think it was something more controlled and fair, like possibly BlizzCon or like a smaller convention. I'm not sure of anything else in the top of my head right now, but that's what I would think. Obviously, the last remark is a bit off with a size of 15,000 people but that's besides it. It wasn't like that, and it felt like the rush of a AAA big con in an indie space. To put it into perspective, the Anime Expo main events hall holds about 3,000 people in that stage room. Fanfest was held in an overall space of only double the AX main event stage, but with only 1,000 seats. That's pretty bad for the main floor that can only hold about 6,000 people for a con that has 15,000 attendants. Even when they ungraciously announced that seating would be removed in day 2 for the concert pit. And oh, we'll get to that later! It's very insufficient space for a large gathering, and it can show greatly with training venue staff and third-party staff lacking any control. The venue's entrance security staff is off-putting, to say the least. The chances you get a competent person is decided by a random flip of the coin, mind you. They could enforce the rules. They could not. They could make up their own rules instantly, far off of what Square Enix was supposedly set. And then you'll feel like you're in a North Korean detention center. That last comment isn't far off, by the way. Your water bottle could be thrown out, your bag could not even bother to be searched or passed off. You can even be bothered to be searched at all in some parts. The security theater is basically mixed in everywhere because in those days, you could have just skipped security altogether and just go under the rope of off the side, letting you bypass all of that and bring in whatever the hell you want. Even in regular security line, you could do so too. With the early rumors of Holy Terror coming up to just control the elite people at the event, I would think that fucker had a good enough chance to do so. The venue security didn't care. The venue security just doesn't care. They don't care. Staff wasn't able to handle the caliber of this event in the slightest. If anything, I saw them being trained on day 2 while I was waiting in line. Being told how to manage the line, communication, and dealing with people. But it was never practiced on in the slightest. Along with the venue staff doing whatever the hell they want, the third-party con staff did whatever the hell they like too. Cutting on and off lines for merch and battle challenge, even with people who had tickets. Even with the space they made for the minigames, there wasn't enough line or space for them, and often they had been overflowing and not being capped or an effective amount of stations or spaces for the large amount of play and photo ops over until day 2. They aren't able to handle passive-aggressive or flat-out aggressive people taking over the lack of a strong staff, and just led to chaos often throughout the event, even between the staff. Which in relation is what happened on day 2 with the first few rows of seating being removed for the concert. I didn't know they would do that. It was never announced on the upper schedule, and even the ADA was affected with their seating being removed well enough until enough complaints was made for a terrible makeshift solution. So I would say about 2,000 people were just hovering around the front while trying to get as close to the stage as possible and to the pit as much as possible, and they didn't want to lose their vantage point, which would be lost anyways because of crowd chaos. And then food around the convention, there was pretty much none. After the first few hours of the con, I went around 2 p.m. to look for food, and holy shit, the place was picked clean. Even the food trucks outside didn't have anything. I only grabbed a few pastries and there was a 2-hour backlog on whatever the hell was left over. Safe to say, if you needed to go and eat something, you have to go out of the convention, find alternatives, or have some food delivered over to the con in order to survive. Because goddammit, I did not survive day 1 with just 2 pastries for 12 hours. And then ADA support. Holy shit. ADA. I'm sorry, ADA community. Holy shit, you all are fucked. I'm sorry, but you're truly and overly fucked. You might as well just stay home. The con wasn't even ADA compliant in the slightest. A small amount of seats, about 20 seats, maybe even less than 50, I'll bet, out of the 1,000 seats in the main hall were for ADA. And it wasn't even that great. Some ADA people couldn't even find seats or didn't even know about the smallest amounts of ADA guidance that some of the staff were not even being aware of. I've seen some people give up their seats for ADA because of the amount of seats not being offered with them. Along with some first-person accounts, they weren't even given any form of human decency or communication to assist with disability. As shocking as it is, it's likely that you're better off leaving during major concerts or to go back and being very uncomfortable in the back standing areas. Along with that, people were just being fucking scummy and just holding off ADA seats and just hiding the cushions and shit. And that's pretty much the lowest form of scum that you can just handle. The golden tickets, as we dubbed, are photo and signing tickets that were given to random goodie bags where you can be able to do meet and greets for different segments of the team, ranging from musicians and community teams to producers and staff members. It's literally random as to what you'll get, and it seems like less than 10% of the total con venue have been given to people. Though it doesn't seem to matter as much cause some people got the whole package, not just one photo or an autograph, with staff multiple times over the course by knowing how to really take advantage of the venue's layout. It'll be said later in another time, but people were really taking advantage of the open schedule some staff had between panels and walkabouts, just to say the least. So if you didn't get a ticket, know that you can do more if you really work for it. The golden tickets are rare, but know that you'll only be trading off one thing for the other, while those outside around the con venue gets the full package. The amount of activities we've had are very slim and could mostly be done within a day. That could be a good or a bad thing depending on what you like to do. Though at least if you do want to do everything, there is only one factually correct route. Then you can have a good time. Just know that if you go to Fanfest, just like any other con, you'll not have a chance to do everything. There are about 5 games, 1 AR photo op, and 6 static photo ops. You can easily do all of that within 4 hours on day 1, or 1 hour if you decide to skip the opening keynote after the trailer drop, as it is open by then. Along with the line is a small number of stations with only very few, only about 4 to 6 people at a time could go in once per minute into these stations. Sure, it may seem like a bit, but for 4 out of the 5 games, there's only 1 station each at each game. So you are guaranteed to wait a good while before you can play. Besides the ADA staff who can skip to the front if the staff even bothers to enforce it. So you will be waiting a good chunk of your time at playing these games and completing the badges, or as I call them, fucking NFTs, though they don't have any monetary value, and redeem them for a prize. And what do you get for your work spending hours doing photo ops and games? 1 double-sided poster and an RNG sticker. That's it. And by day 2, they don't even fucking care because the lines for the redemptions of this fabulous prize was so long that they didn't even bother checking your NFT badges for them anyways. That's also the only free swag you can get included with your Fanfest ticket purchase, because the digital goods have been removed and swapped out with a tiny font on the day of the con to ease the confusion we've been having thinking that we will be included in our goodie bags this year. So your content for the enjoyment will be slim. And the battle preview and merch line is by far the worst I've seen in any con. To start off, for the battle preview, you don't get any swag or rewards for doing it. All you get is the bragging rights to say you've seen it. Well, the people behind you watching the battle station can also see it too. So there's not much bragging there. The way to reserve your battle ticket is by doing the pass online before the presentation starts. But Showcase often does crash and it fucks everything up because too many people are going on at the same time, and before you know it, passes are gone for both days. You can select passes for both days, but the same thing with staff will happen to where you'll forego your tickets anyways because of their lack of training, communication, or honoring tickets for gameplay. So unless if you can wait 1 year for the expansion preview, you can just skip it. And I recommend you do so, since 1 year of waiting isn't that bad to see the fight with your new skills in action, and that you won't have to deal with being level 90 and having to fight a slightly nerfed boss. With the pass's tickets in mind, the same thing applies to merch as well. Instead of online though, you must run to the merch line and skip the entire keynote altogether and grab a callback time ticket. Though these tickets are really short in supply, so in reality, only about 2,000 people could get it, I would think. If you got everything you already wanted from merch online, congratulations! Just don't go back into the line to scalp and scab. It brings up the next major point of scalpers and scabs that are actually in Fanfest as well. They don't even care about the con. They're there to do business. So for the first hour of day 1, you can literally see people cutting to get into the merch line behind staff's dumbfounded backs to go in and grab as much merch as they can. There is no limit to how much merch you can be spending. So all you see throughout the day is just bags full of Fat Cat and Moogle plushes, vinyl records, and coffee cups. Literally bags full of it that they carry that shit around, proudly taking up a lot of merch to resell online by the thousand. By the end of the first day, a good chunk of merch will be gone, and you will have whatever scraps they have left to fight for day 2, if they'll even allow it. So day 1, you should get a priority for skipping the keynote and waiting for merch if you really need to. The way they were all able to have the chaos unfold is by any lack of rules being enforced. And again, the staff overall wasn't enforcing anything at all, from bag checks, merch limit caps, pointing out cutters, rude people, refusing to help ADA, not coming out activities, not clear limits or guidance for lines. All of it was with the lack and ruling of enforcing the crowd, from a passive design to even direct design as well. It was never enforced in the slightest, and if anyone with large anxiety or fear of crowds go, I'm sorry, but I believe you should be scared of it and come during the middle of the day only when it dies out, because it will not go well in the morning and nights of the con. It will be too much, as I've even resorted to my old convention strategies of playing to even have an enjoyable time with mixed results. And I want to make it clear, I didn't do any of these scummy moves. I didn't have to resort to these tactics of line cutting, forcing myself onto seats, stealing from others, or erasing others' names off of the Warrior of Light board. And I hope it won't have to deal with it for the next 2 stops of Fanfest. But just in case, that'll be what you'll be up against if Square Enix doesn't further invest into the staffing on both ends. I really hope it won't come to it. Thank you for listening. If it does have to come with fighting at Fanfest for a good time, I will put something out very soon. Please, whoever runs the show for planning, please get your shit together so that we don't have any of these problems be as widespread as it is for most of us in Vegas.